officially, not officially yet, but they're finalizing a deal that the Denver Broncos now have their guy leading the helm for the Denver Broncos. Nathaniel Hackett has been hired by John Elway and company to be the main guy now in charge of that organization. What does that mean for the future, for the players that they can bring in forward, including Aaron Rodgers? Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode of Time2Football. My name is Hassan Khan, the host of this channel that we like to call Time2Football. Glad you guys are able to join us on this wonderful, marvelous, amazing, beautiful Thursday morning, January 27, 2022. Actually, as a matter of fact, we are one day removed from the anniversary, the 2-year anniversary of Kobe Bryant's departure from this world, which is actually very, very sad. I actually remember a couple years ago, I was driving down to the Super Bowl 54 down in Miami where the Chiefs and the 49ers played. That's when I learned the news. Could not believe it. Could not believe it. And actually, as a matter of fact, some other things that we cannot believe is Nathaniel Hackett being the head coach. I mean, I guess it makes a little bit of sense, but when you had other opportunities out there to hire maybe like Dan Quinn, maybe to hire Brian Flores as well, I mean, there's been some pretty good candidates out there. But regardless, leave your thoughts and your comments down below. Do you think that Nathaniel Hackett could be a very good coach in the NFL? And does this mean that Aaron Rodgers is now the front runner to go to the Denver Broncos to be their next starting quarterback, or maybe even Devontae Adams? We'll see. Lots of things to uncover here on this episode of Time to Football. Hey, we also have got NFL news and notes that we're going to get you guys caught up on, as well as being joined by Shaun Landry, who's consistently a guest on the show, talks about the New Orleans Saints and other topics around the NFL as well. But today we wanted to bring him on. He has a huge fandom for the Saints. His podcast, Go for Glory, which I included a link to that in the description of this YouTube video. If you guys are live streaming this, you can check that out. Go ahead and follow him on there on Podbean. Listen to him. He's very well spoken, very knowledgeable about the NFL. He's going to be joining us to talk about Sean Payton in a segment. We're also going to be talking about our weekly picks that we have for the AFC and the NFC Championship, as well as what you guys are believing is going to happen in those games, who you guys voted to win those games. And then we're going to be interacting with the live chat. Actually, as a matter of fact, I encourage you guys to go ahead and join us in the live chat if you have the opportunity to. Make sure you guys call in to our Discord. There's an opportunity for you guys to come in to the Discord. The server link is down below where you can join the voice channel. You can join the waiting room. And then towards the end of the show, probably in the next 20, 25 minutes or so, I'm going to be bringing in some people that are waiting in that waiting room to join in on the live show. You can watch the show if you want for the next 20 minutes and then wait in the Discord for the next, like in 20 minutes or so, wait in there for a few minutes, and then I'll go ahead and bring you on live on air. We've got Trenton joining us. Trenton Lautner saying, good morning, T2F. Happy Thursday. Are you related to Taylor Lautner? That kind of reveals my age of, he was a big star in the 2000s, 2010s. He was a werewolf. No, he was the, he was a werewolf. He was a werewolf. I was thinking he was the vampire, but the vampire was Batman, Robert Pattinson. I've never seen Twilight. No, never. Never in my life. NFL news and notes for today, January 27th. What is going around the league that we want to talk about? We talked about Nathaniel Hackett. He is 42 years old. He has been the offensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers for the last 3 seasons. Nathaniel Hackett is now the new head coach of the Denver Broncos. The New York Giants are interviewing Patrick Graham to be their defensive coordinator. Now, here's the thing. The front runners for the New York Giants were revealed yesterday was Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills. He's a front runner. But also someone else that has emerged as a front runner candidate, Brian Flores and Dan Quinn. Those 2 guys are now the front runners. This is according to Pat Leonard of the New York Daily News. The reason why it's a little bit of a domino effect because Brian Daboll is the favorite to land the New York Giants job. However, Pat Leonard reported that the Miami Dolphins view Brian Daboll as a favorite to land in that job. Obviously, the Dolphins situation is a little bit better than the New York Giants situation. Both teams have a little bit of work to do, but Miami would be a better spot to go to as opposed to New York. So Brian Daboll might be favoring Tua Tagovailoa, the offensive weapons. Maybe Miami is the place for Brian Daboll to be the head coach for their organization. And that it creates a domino effect because the Giants, if they can't get Brian Dable, according to Leonard, they are looking into Brian Flores and Dan Quinn as two frontrunners for their job. The Chicago Bears, we talked about Ryan Poles being hired as the general manager, was actually an undrafted free agent in the 2000s by the Chicago Bears, and now he's worked his way up, and now he's a part of that organization. He was with the Chiefs. He was a Chiefs executive, and now he comes over to the Chicago Bears as their general manager. Well, Ryan Poles officially himself interviewed Dan Quinn and Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator of the Colts, to see if they're a good fit for him, if they can work together and bring in the best amount of talent. So that's the head coaching news around the NFL as of today. Now let's get into injury news. Who was full participant in practice, who was limited, and who was a non-participant. Full participant in practice, Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. Kyle Shanahan said Deebo Samuel took a helmet to the knee. He should be fine. He should be good to go. Kittle just dealing with some injuries. It's a little bit of a rest, but Kyle Shanahan is kind of optimistic that, or very optimistic that Deebo Samuel and George Kittle are going to be playing this weekend. T. Higgins, he was a full participant in practice, but he has been placed on the injury list with a thumb injury. However, given that he is a full participant, don't have to worry about that. As well as Darrell Williams of the Kansas City Chiefs, he's been out for the last couple of games dealing with a toe injury. Jerick McKinnon has stepped up, but he was a full participant this week. He should be making his return for the Chiefs this weekend. Non-participants in practice, Trent Williams. This is a big loss if the 49ers can't get him. However, Kyle Shanahan says, no way in his mind is he thinking that he's not playing. Trent Williams more than likely will be playing. He is dealing with an ankle injury. He did not practice, but that's just for safe measure. Kyle Shanahan says that Trent Williams is going to be playing, as well as Elijah Mitchell. The practice regime of Elijah Mitchell has been, okay, don't practice on Wednesday, maybe limited throughout the week. Same case this week. Knee injury, don't worry about it. Elijah Mitchell should be good to go. Tyrann Mathieu is dealing with a concussion. He's in concussion protocol. He did not participate in practice. He's more of a concern. Van Jefferson dealing with a knee injury, did not participate in practice. Joe Noteboom, the offensive lineman, dealing with a pec strain for the Los Angeles Rams, did not participate in practice, as well as Greg Gaines, an up-and-coming defensive lineman of the Los Angeles Rams, dealing with a toe injury. He did not practice this past Wednesday. Jeff Wilson is dealing with an ankle injury. He was limited in practice. Jimmy Garoppolo dealing with a thumb injury. He was limited. However, he's trending in the right direction. We know about his UCL tear in his thumb. He's been able to play through it. The shoulder strain that he suffered against the Dallas Cowboys, that was more of a concern. Did not seem to harm him in that game against the Green Bay Packers. That was taken off the injury designation, and now Jimmy Garoppolo is now just dealing with a thumb injury, no shoulder strain. And that is your injury news. Brandon Brooks, very talented offensive lineman of the Philadelphia Eagles, announced his retirement from the NFL. He was a Super Bowl champion with the Philadelphia Eagles. He was a three-time Pro Bowler from 2017 through 2019. Heck of a career. Really, really heck of a career. And along with Jason Kelce and Lane Johnson and all those other stud offensive linemen of the Philadelphia Eagles, Brandon Brooks has been a very good player for that organization for the last decade. So Brandon Brooks, congratulations on a great career. Enjoy retirement. Giants general manager, newly hired Giants general manager, Joe Schoen, Schoen, I don't know, committed to Daniel Jones for the 2022 season, actually, as a matter of fact. John Mara, the owner, has said that they are not trading for Deshaun Watson. So I think that was a conversation that was brought up in a presser with John Mara. He says, we'll build an offense to accentuate what Daniel Jones does best. This is what the general manager of the Giants has stated. And then John Mara said, no Deshaun Watson with the salary cap, with the allegations, no realistic chance of landing Deshaun Watson. Not going to happen. They are fully committed to Daniel Jones for 2022. Mohamed Sanu has been activated off of injured reserve. He is able to make his return for the 49ers this weekend. Josh Gordon, he was released by the Chiefs, but he cleared waivers, so the Chiefs re-signed him to the practice squad. And David Andrews of the New England Patriots, not really affecting this season. Their season is over, but he underwent off-season shoulder surgery. So just keep out for a lookout of his timetable to return. And that is your NFL news and notes for today, January 27th. All right. Now what we're going to do is we are going to bring on a very special guest. So Sean is actually a good friend of mine, and he has been joining on this podcast for a few episodes here and there to give his insight on different NFL teams. Now, his fandom lies with the New Orleans Saints, with LSU. He's from Louisiana. He loves the team. He's diehard. He's not a bandwagoner, unlike most of you guys, Patriots fans that became Buccaneers fans. But Sean wants to give his insight on Sean Payton leaving from the New Orleans Saints. He steps down, wants to take a break from coaching, could be returning in the next couple of years or so. We don't know for sure when he's going to be returning, and if he returns, which team is he going to coach for. But we have Shaun Landry joining us of the Go for Glory podcast, giving us his insight. So, Sean, thank you so much for joining us for this episode.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you, too. I know it's kind of weird to kind of hear Sean Payton stepping down from the New Orleans Saints. I know that you've talked about in the past, your fandom really started from 2006, coming back from Hurricane Katrina when the Superdome opened, that blocked punt against the Falcons. Like, so many good memories, Drew Brees signing on, and now it's an end of an era with Drew Brees and Sean Payton gone. What are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, yesterday, I'll admit, yesterday kind of felt like a funeral, like just getting over a death in the family. Just because that's how much Sean Payton has meant to me and to the fans here, or obviously in New Orleans and the state of Louisiana overall. But you kind of knew the writing was on the wall for the last couple of years. I think many of us, including myself, thought that he and Drew were going to retire after the 2018 season. When we had the number one seed back then, obviously we got cheated out of the Super Bowl thanks to the referees. But I full-heartedly believe, and that's something I talked about on my podcast yesterday, was had we been in that second Super Bowl, I felt confident we would have beaten Tom Brady in New England. And I felt like that would have been the end of an era in the Peyton Brees saga. Obviously, we all know that wasn't the case. Both, Drew came back, decided to come back after that season. We get bounced from the playoffs in the first round the following year. Obviously, last year, was a good run. First year, having Tom Brady in the division, beating him twice, and then ultimately seeing the writing on the wall for Drew in the playoffs. And then you go into this year in what was deemed in his mind as one of the most stressful years in his coaching career, having to deal with COVID, having to deal with injuries. I think for me, and I don't know about you, but I know a lot of fans, Saints fans, our hearts kind of stopped when Jameis tore his ACL on Halloween against Tampa, because we knew right then and there, like, we're in for a very long, long season. So you factored that in with 58 players in a combination of trying to make things happen, playing Monday night with the Dolphins with 22 of your starters out and a rookie quarterback. I think that's what ultimately led to Sean deciding, I think it's time I need to step away and recharge and refresh. It was a very emotional press conference for him. He actually said in his presser, he goes, I actually Googled the night before how not to cry during giving a speech. And two things came to the forefront. First was yawning, which he said, he's like, I'm not going to yawn. And he said the second thing was, drink plenty of water. So if you notice his press conference, he was constantly every so often drinking a little bit of water just to kind of keep his emotions down, because it's hard for him. Anytime you've been in this league, especially in one place for so long, you have a lot of memories. And you touched on that just a few moments ago with the block punt against Atlanta when we reopened the dome, winning the Super Bowl, Drew setting the all-time passing record, having tremendous draft class, the last couple of years. It was hard. It was frustrating. I'll admit I was frustrated because I felt like we were one quarterback away after this year of having a good chance to get back. And Cam Jordan said that this morning on Get Up. And but I also feel relieved, and not so much relieved that Sean's gone, but I'm relieved that he's finally taken some time away. He got married last year. His kids are growing up, and you're seeing that a lot in the news with Tom Brady. Tom Brady's now factoring family as a potential decision maker to walk away. And so good for Sean. I'm thankful for what he has given my state and my city and my team for 16 years. My only wish is when he comes back, and I do believe he's going to come back to coach. My only wish is he does not come back to coach the Dallas Cowboys. Please, Sean, if you are watching, do not come back to coach the Dallas Cowboys, because we are forced to listen to them every morning and every day. We're going to be fed that twice as much if we have to see you with a star on your chest. So it's it's definitely sad, but it's like you touched on earlier. He was the reason, along with my father, why I'm such a diehard Saints fan. And he talked about that again. How every kid follows the teams of their moms and dads, and my father, you and I have talked about this. My father was the main reason why I followed the Saints, and I followed them closely after the 2006 season when we brought in Breeze and Sean became a first-time head coach. He's the longest tenured coach in Saints history. So definitely will be missed, but I'm very humble and thankful for all he's given the city of New Orleans and the state of Louisiana.
Definitely. That was very well said. And actually, I don't mean to change the topic at all, but we just
No.
got breaking news. Ben Roethlisberger just now announced his retirement from the NFL after 18 seasons. So officially just announced that. And kind of, we'll discuss this a little bit later on. But kind of tying Ben Roethlisberger into all of this with Sean Payton leaving the Saints. And you talked about how, okay, the roster, maybe, Jameis Winston suffering this ACL tear, maybe like all the stress of this, like Drew retiring, maybe now is like a good time that I should be taking a step away. Well, then what about the future for the Saints? Like Ben Roethlisberger's gone, so that leaves an opportunity open for Pittsburgh, like we imagined, for maybe those quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Nathaniel Hackett just got hired by the Denver Broncos, so Aaron
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers, Russell Wilson, like Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Where do the Saints go from here on out as far as a personnel standpoint, as far as their players solely?
Well, that is the $74 million question. And I mean that because that we are $74 million over the salary cap. So whoever comes in as the next head coach is going to have to figure that out as well. Personally, I've been really on the Russell Wilson train this whole year. I really felt like after this year, he was going to come to New Orleans. I wasn't sold on Aaron coming just because, all signs, and obviously now looking like he's going to go to Denver. But that's going to be the biggest question mark and that's for the next head coach to decide, is how is this roster going to look? Obviously the one thing, and this is where I kind of disagree with Bart and Hahn on ESPN radio. They said the other day, they put the Saints now in the same category as the Dolphins, the Texans, the Vikings, just because, you're now, not want to say you're at the bottom of the barrel, but you're in that tier of teams where you're uncertain in quarterback, you're uncertain at head coach, you have cap issues that you've got to deal with. I don't know what the cap issues are like for those teams respectively, but if where I disagree with Bart is, out of all those teams, I feel like the Saints are the most consistent in terms of a winning culture, in terms of a top 10 defense. I mean, we're still talented on that front. Offensively, you put in Kamara, what's going to be the status of Michael Thomas? Should we move on from him? Is he going to come back? So I feel like the future is still bright, here in New Orleans, just because you have that consistency within the locker room, within the organization. Sean talked about it best. He goes, I've had no better, I guess not plan, but just no better alternative in terms of an owner. He had, he spoke very highly of Mrs. Benson and the late great Tom Benson, having to work with them. And just, he said he had called them wonderful owners, just wonderful, wonderful owners. He talked about sharing stories about he and Tom would talk on a daily basis just because of how much Tom influenced him and put such a positive spin on his life as a head coach. And then he talked about his relationship with Mickey Loomis. I mean, we have a very good general manager who has been very articulate in terms of the salary cap, how to manage that, moving a lot of the dead money into future years, which, is obviously a good thing, in the present tense, but future wise, it kind of puts your team in a little bit of a corner in terms of bringing big name free agents to your organization. So I feel like the team's going to be intact. I read something yesterday. They talked about 10 players that could get moved. They named guys like Alvin Kamara. They named guys like Cam Jordan, Malcolm Jenkins, Demario Davis, key pieces of our team and of our unit. There's a couple names that I can tell you that I feel like we should move on from, not just because of their contribution to the field, but just a lot of their off the field in terms of injuries. Guys like Teron Armstead and Andrus Peat, yes, two anchors on the offensive line, but just have not been able to stay healthy. mean, Andres Pete hasn't been healthy for most of the last couple seasons. So those are guys I feel like we can move on from. They talked about how yesterday you can literally save $9 million by cutting Taysom Hill, and we just signed him to a 4-year extension. So again, I feel like the future's bright in New Orleans. It just depends on who the quarterback's going to be. Are they going to bring back Jameis Winston? Are they going to look elsewhere? I really hope they do not bring back Trevor Siemian, because I just was hard to watch, period, with him. But it also is going to depend on the next head coach. And is that head coach looks at our current talent, current roster, and said, you know what, even though we've got a $74 million hole with our cap, there's still plenty of promise and still plenty to play for and to succeed with this organization.
Absolutely. And you just talked about the players right there. We got Shaun Landry joining us, by the way, if you guys are just now tuning in live, of the Go for Glory podcast, giving his thoughts on Sean Payton and the Saints. You talked about the quarterback situation, the players, some players that could be moved. Now for the Saints, the head coaching position, who is your front runner? Because Nathaniel Hackett got hired by the Broncos. All the other teams are like 2 interviews in with multiple candidates. Brian Daboll pretty much off the table at this point by the Giants or the Miami Dolphins. Like, who is available at this point, and who do you think would be the best fit for the Saints moving forward?
Well, the best fit right now is Dennis Allen. And, they asked that of Sean in the press conference the other day. They asked him, so what advice would you have to the next head coach? And he goes, well, quite honestly, they have a tremendous candidate already in-house. And he didn't mention Dennis by name, but I was watching after the review with Matt Moscona, and he was talking with one of the reporters who was there at the presser. And he said he happened to look over at Mrs. B, and she started to chuckle. And standing right behind her, believe it or not, was Dennis Allen, and he had a smile on his face. So you kind of feel like there's a plan in the works to potentially name him as the next head coach. I've seen other names like Aaron Glenn, former defensive backs coach for the Saints, who's now up there in Detroit with Dan Campbell. And then you have the obvious other names: Byron Leftwich, Jim Caldwell, Doug Peterson, Eric Bieniemy, to name a few. But I feel like right now, I feel like Dennis Allen is probably the best fit for this team, just because he's brought so much to our defense over the last couple of years. Took over in 2015 for Rob Ryan, really has elevated that defense to an elite unit in this league. And he's already instilled in that culture. You and I talked about yesterday, it's all about the right fit. And as much as I don't like the Atlanta Falcons, I feel like you have a great owner in Arthur Blank who believes in culture, team culture, a winning attitude. Somebody who wants to bring in someone to connect with the city, its fans, and the organization. And so, similarly in New Orleans with Mrs. Benson and Mickey Loomis, I feel like Dennis Allen would be a great fit. And yes, you could say, well, he didn't have a very good head coaching track record, but then again, he was with the Raiders, and the Raiders was kind of a dumpster fire back then for him. And so it literally put him in a not so nice position to succeed. So, sometimes getting a second chance, and we saw that early on this year when he was on the sidelines, out here in Tampa, when they shut out the Bucs 9-0. So I feel like he would be a good fit, and literally you would keep that continuity within your locker room, within the organization. Again, you just have to figure out the salary, and you just got to figure out who your quarterback is.
Yeah, Dennis Allen seems like the most logical choice at this point, and would make a lot of sense, and wouldn't be a bad hire at all, or rather promotion, I should say, for Dennis Allen. Sean, I appreciate you joining us for this episode of Time to Football, giving your thoughts on Sean Payton and the New Orleans Saints. Where can people find you?
So you can find me on Podbean. Again, I appreciate you for the shout out this morning, putting my link in your nice little background. You can find me on Podbean. It's Go for Glory. I just started it last year, and I'll admit I had taken some time away. Obviously, when you have a wife and you have a dog and you have work and other responsibilities, it's kind of hard to get into that podcast. But it's free to subscribe, like, listen, comment. I'm starting to get back into the airwaves, released my first episode yesterday. So you can find me there. But again, I appreciate you having me on, and always, man, for those who are listening, Hassan Khan provides very great insight. We watch Get Up, we watch Good Morning Football, and you get fed the same stuff every single day. So guys like Hassan give us a different perspective and kind of find a different outlet to really enjoy something than what the major networks provide.
Definitely. I want to give everybody more coverage rather than Max Kellerman talking about Tom Brady falling off a cliff or Stephen A. Smith talking about the Cowboys. I don't know. But I appreciate that, man. Sean, thanks for joining us. Have a good one.
Thank you. You do as well.
And that was Shaun Landry joining us. Again, go subscribe to his podcast and make sure you guys check him out on Podbean as well. And he does a very, very good job in getting all the right content for the New Orleans Saints. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and talk about our weekly picks for today's episode of Time to Football. So we do this every Thursday where we just go through where everybody on social media is picking. Who are they picking to win each game, as well as give you our prediction and who we believe is going to win every single game. And trust me, this was hard. This was really, really difficult to try to come up with these spreads, these predictions, how many points are these teams going to win by? But I finally had to follow my heart. I had to follow my heart. I know my mind is telling me something else, and I'll explain that in just a bit. But I followed my heart, and I thought, okay, this is the season for this team. You got to make it all the way to the Super Bowl. Like, this is where, like, legends rise. This is where opportunities happen for the Final Four and advancing to Super Bowl 56. So first, we're going to start off with the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Kansas City Chiefs and the AFC Championship game. We have come down to the Final Four. The AFC Championship will be represented by the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have won 12 of their last 13 games. The only loss, the Cincinnati Bengals by a field goal. The Bengals find themselves here after playing tough defense against the number 1 seed Tennessee Titans. The Chiefs beat the Buffalo Bills in an overtime classic. Both of the teams have a lot of momentum going into this game. Anything could happen between these two teams. I really struggled between who was going to win, and I really wanted to look into the offensive and defensive stats for these teams for the 2021 season. So if we break that down even further, we got the Bengals offense ranking at 13th, while the Chiefs offense is 3rd in the league. However, on defense, the Bengals, led by Trey Hendrickson, led by Sam Hubbard, led by Logan Wilson, a lot of these guys that have really stepped up in 2021, they're 18th ranked as opposed to the Kansas City Chiefs defense. Even though at times they could look good, when the competition gets tough, they do tend to give up a lot of yards and a lot of points. That's why they're ranked 27th for the league. So that's breaking down the stats. And now we ask you guys on social media, who do you guys feel like is going to win, as well as giving you our prediction. And here are the results. Very, very, very tight race between you guys and the viewers on social media. 51% liking the Bengals, 49% liking the Chiefs. I mean, we took a poll of probably 150, 200 people on social media, and it came down to legit probably like 8 or 9 votes between the two. Like, it was very, very close in determining who's going to win this game. Our heart is telling us to pick the Bengals. We want to see the Bengals succeed, and we do feel like since they beat the Chiefs earlier, we think that they can do it again. However, the Chiefs, very tough team. Do not count them out. I would not be surprised if the Chiefs were to win this game. That's why we have it very close. We have the Bengals winning by 2. So for you guys that pick the spreads, Kansas City -7, that might be the smartest choice because it's going to be a very, very close game, I feel like. But moving on over to the NFC Championship between the San Francisco 49ers and the Los Angeles Rams. The 49ers have it up on the Rams, 2-0 this season against LA, trying to make a 3-0 and a clean sweep as the motion by Deebo Samuel earlier this season. For the Rams, they beat the Buccaneers, they beat the Arizona Cardinals, they beat the Cardinals in extreme fashion. They dominated the Buccaneers for the majority of the game, and most people are regarding the Rams as the most well-balanced team in the NFL thus far in the postseason. For the 49ers, dark horse contenders, we've been talking about them being dark horse contenders all season long. And finally, they're getting a lot more credit. Let's just admit that the 49ers, instead of saying that they're the underdog, which they are, let's just go ahead and admit that they are a great team. Like beating the Packers, beating the Cowboys, beating the Rams in 3 straight games to get to this point. And we want to do the same where we break down the stats. So let's go ahead and break it down even further. For the 49ers, you may not believe it, but they have a top 10 offense. And the reason why you may not believe it is because a lot of people look at the quarterback and it's like, oh, well, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's not that good of a quarterback, so they can't have a top 10 offense. Well, when you have Deebo Samuel that's up there as far as scrimmage yards in the NFL, when you have a great run game on top of that as well, you're going to have a 7th-ranked offense. For the Rams, they're top 10 as well, obviously. And on the defensive side of the ball, the 49ers have really stepped it up. They're a top 3 as opposed to the Rams. They give up a lot of big plays in the secondary, so they're only 17th in the NFL. Now, here's the thing. We took the poll on social media. This one was not as close as the other ones, but let's just go ahead and show you the results. We got the Rams here winning 70% favoring the LA Rams, while only 30% is favoring the San Francisco 49ers. We're taking the Rams to win in this one as well. I know we've picked against the 49ers all postseason long, so I'm not going to be surprised. Given that the 49ers beat the Rams 2 times this year, we won't be surprised if the 49ers win. However, to win 3 times in a row against a team that is better than you, that is very, very tough to do. The Rams, the spread, -3.5. That is what I am picking. So, seems like we agree between the Rams, between the Bengals. So, if all of our predictions come correct, if the viewer predictions come correct, if our predictions come correct, then this is the Super Bowl matchup that you have to look forward to between the Rams and the Bengals for Super Bowl 56. What a matchup that would be. Honestly, any matchup. 49ers Chiefs, Rams Chiefs, Bengals 49ers, all of them could be good potential games. Leave your comments, leave your thoughts down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and your opinions on who do you believe personally is going to make the Super Bowl, and would you like to see the Rams and the Bengals battle it out? Matthew Stafford chasing his first championship, the Bengals, their first championship ever, as well as a team. Leave your thoughts in your comments down below. But that is our weekly picks for this episode of Time to Football. Now, I'm going to go ahead and remind you guys that you can go on over to Discord and join us on air, live, on air. You can call in. You can say whatever the heck you want. You can say, Hassan, you're a POS. You can say that. POC. Because I am, I guess. Or you could just say, hey, I have a question that I want to get answered. Who do you feel like is going to win this game? Have you heard any news about this player, that player, whatever? Anything. And if you want to give a prediction, whatever it may be, join us on Discord. Click that link in the description. Join us on the voice channel. Wait under the waiting room, and you can give your thoughts and your opinions on what's going to be happening this weekend. I love to hear from you guys. I love talking with you guys that join us on this Time to Football show daily. But while you guys are joining the Discord, if you guys want to do that, or you're commenting down below in the live chat, I'll go ahead and acknowledge you guys. Trenton Lautner, referring back to the Taylor Lautner reference that we made, you're saying, I get that all the time about Taylor Lautner. LOL. I'm not related to him, though. You should own up to it, man. You should own it. You should be like, yeah, dude, I am. And maybe I am, I mean, I don't know. How tall is he? I don't know. Maybe I'm not as jacked as him, but who cares? Who cares? He's my brother. He's my brother. Jordanian Poppy saying, good morning, y'all. Good morning, Jordanian Poppy. Roger, tuning in saying, tatas. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, I got to be a little bit more mindful about that this time around for this episode, because yesterday, my hot brunette wife did not actually tune into the episode, but she was like, she acted like she did. And then I was like, oh, you tuned into the episode when I talked about titties. And then she was like, no, I didn't. I was just trying to say that I tuned in to support you, but why'd you just tell me that you talked about titties on air? So, you know, she's probably tuning in right now to make sure that I don't talk about them more. But, I mean, babe, it was only to get viewership. It was only to bring in the audience. Like, it's not like I don't know. But we got Roger here saying tatas. Tatas, tatas, tatas. And that's it. That is it for the live chat. Wow. Is this going to be a short episode of Time to Football? I don't want it to be, so I'm just going to hang out here and wait here for a couple minutes until you guys join in. Yeah, I wrapped myself out. I did, man. I did. I know. I'm an idiot. Hey, let's talk about Ben Roethlisberger, man. So he made the decision to retire. Retire actually live while we were on air, while we were in that segment with Shaun Landry. Retired. So Ben Roethlisberger, loved seeing him play. When I first got into football, he was a quarterback at the Steelers, so I kind of grew up watching him. And great career. But I mean, it was kind of expected that Ben Roethlisberger was going to be stepping away, and the last completion of his NFL career was to Gentry, and he didn't ride off into the sunset, unfortunately. Kind of rode out into the blackness, but congratulations to Ben Roethlisberger. What a hell of a career. What a career for sure. Let's see what else you guys are saying. Do the Steelers draft a quarterback or do they sign one? I think that the Steelers are there. The Steelers are there. And because they are there, they're going to either trade for a quarterback. I mean, I was going to say sign a quarterback in free agency, like a veteran quarterback. That's like a big name. But there are no veteran quarterbacks out there that are big names. None of them are. None of them. Like, there's none. None. Like Andy Dalton, sure, he's going to be a free. Nick Foles is going to, sure, like Nick Foles could win you. But, like, it's not going to be a big splash hire. So, I think they go down the route of pursuing heavily pursuing Russell Wilson, heavily pursuing Deshaun Watson, heavily pursuing Aaron Rodgers to try to get them to come into town to be the quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Besides that, I mean, you've got Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins competing for the starting job. They're not getting the starting job if Aaron Rodgers is in town. So I think that's where it lies. Now, however, Mike Tomlin could go down the route of saying, like, we've seen Dwayne Haskins in practice, and he's actually not that bad. We've seen Mason Rudolph play. Okay, he's capable of starting. He may not win a lot of games. He may not have the best stats, but maybe like he could be good enough, like a good bridge quarterback for now. What if we just draft a quarterback for the future? Knowing that we have Mason, knowing that we have Dwayne, maybe draft Kenny Pickett, make him stay in Pittsburgh. Maybe draft Sam Howell, Matt Corral, whoever it may be, and then go from there. My first thought is that they're going to trade for a quarterback, but I wouldn't be surprised if they draft someone. Chris W. talking about what players we take in this weekend. Oh, you talking about Prize Picks. I have not done research, man. I have not done any research yet, but if you followed our Prize Picks advice, if you join us live stream and if you join us later on for Prize Picks, we got 5 out of 7 correct, which was awesome. So I got to do research on that, though. I have to do research, and I have to see who is going to be popping off. I wish for Prediction Strike, particularly the stock market, I was so close instead of saying buy in on Scotty Miller, which he ended up doing better than his projection, so he ended up making money. I was so close to saying Gabriel Davis. I know, man. You guys would have been millionaires because he had a 100% increase in his stock. So if you put in $100 on Gabriel Davis, you would have made another $100. But I don't know. I got to go with my gut next time. Jordanian Poppy asking about what about Watson? John Mara of the New York Giants coming out and saying, well, the cap space because of the allegations, Watson is a no-go. And I think that's the case for most teams. The Dolphins, because of the allegations, that was the main reason. They were willing to eat up the cap space. The allegations, nah. The Broncos, the allegations, nah. The Panthers, the allegations, nah. We'll hold off for now. So that kind of concerns me. That kind of concerns me in that aspect. But I mean, we'll definitely see. We'll definitely see what the future lies for Deshaun Watson moving forward. All right. Well, I mean, that seems to be it. That seems to be it for this episode of Time to Football. I'm going to go ahead and sign off right here. Gosh, I'm kind of discombobulated right now. What the heck am I doing? All right. Yes, this is what I'm doing. Cool. One-man show, guys. One-man show, and we're live. We're live, brother. We're live. Anything could happen. Anything could happen on this episode of Time to Football. We're live. But I appreciate you guys joining us, and a big thank you to Shaun Landry as well, joining us for this episode. We're going to go ahead and split up his video. release it later on, as well as the weekly picks segment that we just had, so you guys can make your spreads, make your picks, whatever it may be, on this episode of Time2Football. With all that said, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Time2Football, and remember, tatas.